What is up, beautiful fish lovers, and welcome to Puff Daddy Reef. It's been about a month and a half since I posted an update. I've been traveling a lot and actually been doing a lot of things on the tank. One thing about making YouTube videos is it takes a lot of time, so by making videos for you, sometimes it actually takes away from the time I get to put into my tank, because I feel like I have to take a video of everything and then upload it and edit it. So I took some time to travel, and because of taking time out for that and still maintaining the tank, I didn't post as much, but we're back and we're here for an awesome update on the Red Sea Reefer. You might be wondering, where was I? Well, I took a trip to Alaska. I also went to Japan. During my trip to Japan, I went to Sunshine Aquarium, and I took a lot of videos for that. It was a really cool aquarium, and so I will be posting a video kind of featuring that aquarium pretty soon. In my trip to Alaska, I stopped by some aquarium stores, but didn't film too much, so maybe I'll just put some clips in here and there of that. One thing that was interesting when I was up there is a few months earlier, they had had a massive earthquake, and there was this giant fish tank at a Chinese restaurant that basically shattered, and it was really sad to see, but the community kind of banded together and people were offering to hold fish in different people's tanks, so that was kind of interesting. But you never really think about your fish tank and what happens if there's an earthquake, at least here on the East Coast where I am. But maybe you guys in California, let me know what you do to, or Alaska or other places, what you do to prepare for things like that. So what has really gone on in this tank since we last talked? Well, I think the last thing I talked about in my video was how to prepare your tank for travel. And obviously I've been doing a lot of travel and it's been working out pretty well. I've been having people come in mostly to take care of my shark. The shark needs to eat about every other day at this age, so that's basically the most critical thing. And because the shark only likes to eat basically uncooked meats like scallops or prawns, chopped up prawns, and also sometimes the fish shark gel, they really need someone to come in. I haven't figured out a good way to automate that with an auto feeder like I have set up. I also have gotten a bunch of fish in, and a whole bunch of fish that I never really knew would adapt well to this tank, but so far they've done really good. Now, the big problem with introducing fish to this tank is I have this purple tang, and the purple tang is probably one of the meanest fish ever. They're beautiful, but I would recommend putting this fish absolutely last if you're ever going to stock a tank. So before, I had gotten a magnificent fox face, and I put the magnificent fox face in the tank, and the purple tang absolutely destroyed the fox face. And so this time I captured the purple tang and basically banished him to the sump while I went through this process of introducing fish to my tank. Now, some of the new fish I have scissor-tailed dartfish, I have a regular fox face. I don't think it's not magnificent, it's not a one spot, plain old fox face. And I also have a copperband butterfly fish and a trio of anthias, some cardinals, some pajama cardinals. So a lot of fish have been added to this tank, and let me say, this is the first time in a year and a half of having this tank that I actually feel like it's a fish tank with a decent amount of fish. And the shark hasn't bothered any of them, so that's a great thing. Other things that have happened, I did get some more coral, and the coral is actually doing really well, and the tank also seems to have gotten to this point where it's kind of stabilized. I don't have a lot of new algae issues anymore, even though I'm feeding more than ever before because I'm leaving the auto fish feeder on. It goes off every day at noon to kind of give a little treat for the tank for pellets, and then at night I feed about a cube of like marine cuisine or those other sorts of pre-portioned frozen fish foods. So that's good. I have a lot new coral. And what else is happening? Oh, I also got these porcelain crabs. I posted them on my Instagram page, so I'll show you those as well. And then in the sump's doing pretty good. Because my son is now walking, I had to baby-proof it, so I added these little logs here for the sump. But I'll show you what's down there in just a second. But I basically upgraded that, and things are just running really stable. One really interesting thing is I have this white bottom on the bottom of my fish tank, and it seems like over time it's kind of stabilized. Basically, it hasn't been growing much gunk anymore. It's stayed pretty clean, pretty white, and I have the flow set up that it pretty much flushes all the detritus to the back, which I can easily siphon up like once every 3 weeks. So it's actually staying pretty clean. So overall, really happy with the tank. Also, I picked up a Kessil A360X, so I installed that, and I'll have a review video on that coming down the pipe. And I also got some new reflectors for my AP700. At one time, something happened and the reflectors kind of, the plastic that covers them, the reflective part bubbled up, and I let Kessil know about it, and they just sent me new reflectors for free. So we'll have a video on how to install those. And overall, just very happy with the tank. So let's take you on a tour of it and show you a little bit more. All right, so here is the tank, and let's just get a really good view of it. And basically, it's looking good from all angles. It's not very cloudy. I also fragged my pectina, so I have all these different little frags down here. It took about 3 weeks for the pectina to basically heal from that, but it's doing good. The only coral that looks like it's having a little bit of trouble back here is this brain coral. Looks less fluffy than normal, so I think I might have to do some more target feeding of him to maybe beef him up. These guys are really cool. We have the Anenome Crabs, and these things are awesome. So they're porcelain crabs. I actually have a pair. There should be 2 in there, the other one's on the other side. And they just catch things that float on by and they eat it. And this is great because my clownfish does not really like to hang out with the anemone, so it's nice to have. The corals that I brought from my Nouveau Fusion, they're doing pretty good. These trumpet corals, they're growing, surely but slowly. This is a really cool hammer coral piece I picked up from another reefer, and this is a great coral. This was one mistake I made, though. I put this coral in the center of this area over here, and it actually did some coral warfare and killed off this coral here. So this coral did die due to this thing, and I have, and, it wasn't a water parameter thing. It had to be just due to being in close proximity to this hammer coral. So I'm calling it a toxic green hammer coral right now because it definitely needs its distance from other things. But the good thing is I split this coral up around the tank, so I still have good examples of it. As you can see here, there's the coral, that same coral, hanging out and growing well. And on this side of the tank, another thing is I split up my gold hammer coral, or sorry, yeah, I think it's a hammer coral, but it almost looks like a torch coral. It's like somewhere in between, but I do think it is supposed to be a hammer coral. And I picked up this big bird's nest and just a lot of stuff. So the tank is looking pretty good. As far as the lights, now I have an A360X, an A360WE, and an AP700. So I am kind of a Kessil fan. I do like the look of the Kessils. I feel like the color of the A360X is slightly improved, but it's actually very difficult to tell over the A360WE. But I do know just from the added colors of the LEDs that the spectrum is a lot more even, and from the information that bulk Reef Supply did when they actually took the spectrum of it, it's actually much wider, fuller spectrum. I feel like my fish that are yellow and red, but mostly the yellows tend to pop a little bit more on this light, whereas when the fish are over there, the yellow doesn't seem as vibrant. So I think that's the biggest thing I've got from it. I don't have the controller, so I haven't been messing with it to actually kind of get more violet out. But how it's set up now is a very natural look for how it looks underwater, and I think still much more natural than some other lights that tend to look a little more purpley. So now let's go down into the sump. It's my child safety lock. Maybe I'll show you a little bit more about that. But in this sump, I basically have not much going on other than my typical ATO and the little mini coral farm here. I moved one A360WE down here when I replaced it with the A360X. And then also I have my little Chaetomorpha farm here with this grow light from Kessil. And another big thing that's happened that's really improved in this tank recently is I've actually been growing Chaeto consistently really well, and it hasn't, basically before I was growing it and it would just grow and then crash. And the big difference is I used to be running that light at 12 hours on, 12 hours off, and I've actually reduced it to about 8 hours on and then the rest of the time off, and I'm actually growing more Chaetomorpha and it's nice and healthy. And so I don't know if it's just because the light's so powerful that it needs more off time, but having more off time on that light is not only increasing my nutrient export, but also is saving me money. So I think that light, oh man, it could cost up to $6 a month to run based on my power and energy consumption. So reducing that is actually saving a few dollars a month, so it's not bad at all. So that's basically it for the tank. We'll do a few shots of it with some music, and let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. And then in the upcoming weeks, we'll have the more specific videos of some of the things that have changed with the tank. So thank you very much for joining me today on Puff Daddy Reef. I'll see you next time.